In my short time here at the Stoop, I've been looking for the best place to watch rugby from, and I think I've finally found it. This is the office of Chris Fowles. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Harlequins Live. This is the best kept secret in the entire ground here. What a place to watch the match from.
I think that's just been blown now that you've said that. Yes, it's a fantastic place. Great view.
So how much time do you actually spend here on a match day?
So as soon as we open the gates, I more or less am housed here the whole time. So that if anything goes wrong, we either can see it from CCTV, from maps or anything, but people will come to me and then I coordinate it from here. Okay. Usually, there's a lot more people in here, but in these times, it's just me.
Well, don't be looking for sympathy because you get a fantastic view, and I'm sure a quiet day and a lonely day up here is the best day of all. How have match days been since rugby's restarted and we've had no fans? Are they easier or are they more difficult?
The first one behind closed doors, that was quite an interesting experience because we were playing in an area that we didn't really understand and we were learning as we went. So for us, understanding the zones, the amber zone, the red zone was quite an interesting sort of addition to our skill set. Now that we've been running those a number of times, it's a natural transition now. So we're sort of quite relaxed with it. The partial crowd game back in September was an interesting one as well. But nowadays, yes.
Well, we thought we were going to get fans today and on the 20th in the Champions Cup as well. How far along in terms of the planning did you get?
So I have to liaise with the council the whole time to get the safety certificate specific for an event. Usually it just runs until the changes, but with COVID, it's been quite strict. So we were running up until the government cancelled it. We were in sort of conversation and emails with the council looking with the risk assessments, the seat kills, our flows, how we were going to control people, and things that they wanted to see to make sure it was COVID compliant and safe for everyone.
And unfortunately, the league has been losing games due to COVID-19. I assume you're constantly in touch with PRL and all of the necessary federations. Are there any changes sort of constantly coming in? Are you always having to keep on your toes with that kind of stuff?
So yes, indeed. We have a COVID manager here, and we also have a link with the RFU from Jim Eyre. But recently, last week, the new restrictions came, or not new restrictions, but reinforcing the compliance point. So for non-playing staff, they're not to go in the change rooms, even though it's their colleagues and their mates. They have to come in a specific route, sit in specific areas and not go anywhere near the red zone. Likewise, the medical teams, etc., we got to reinforce with them that they wear the correct PPE when they're going out to treat the players. And then post-match, we've been told how now we will sort of downgrade the enforcement. So the inner zone, so what I would call the bowl area, can be opened up earlier than the change rooms, but the change rooms now will stay red zone until the last member of the playing staff leaves. So no one can go in there apart from backroom staff and playing staff.
Now, you talked about red zones there. You've got that lanyard around your neck that says you've got access. If I reach in my pocket here, I've got my orange one that means that I'm allowed in the amber zone. For the people watching, just break down the zones for us. What do they mean and why are they important?
So for us, the green zone is outside the periphery of the Stoop. So that's for normal people just adhering to normal COVID regulations as set out by the government. And then within the stadium, everything that isn't the pitch or the changing rooms is an amber zone. So that is controlled, but you can only be there if you've got the correct lanyard, adhering to all the policies and making sure you're wearing face masks. And then we have another, so anyone coming into the ground now has to be checked. They link in with the COVID QR code, they get their temperature checked, then they come in and they're into the amber zone. We were doing wellness questionnaires before that. To get into the red zone, then you go through another assessment point where another temperature check is taken. For the home team, that is now no longer the change rooms, that's not big enough, so they're now using the honours bar. And then the away team, they will provide us a list when they arrive, and they'll change in the players' bar, and then we'll have their list. And then their whole area is on the opposite side. They're coming from the northeast side of the ground. But once again, so you've got the changing areas, a sort of controlled channel, shall I say, onto the pitch, which is another red zone, and then the rest of it is amber.
So just making sure that everyone is as safe as they possibly can be, so we can continue to have some rugby.
Yeah, indeed. And even to the point with the rugby ball, even if it went off the side, you don't just throw it back on, you give it to a ball retriever who then puts it in Milton, then puts it in water, then dries it, then gives it to the player. So even that game when we had the partial crowd, that was quite interesting. We were educating the fans to give it back to a steward who would then pass it to the ball retriever.
That's my excuse for not catching it when it comes my way in the show later. You cannot have been in a job like this for this long without having some great stories. Were you involved in the match that was abandoned halfway through? Tell us about that.
Yeah, we had, I think it's coming up it'll be 7 years next month when we played Leicester in the LV Cup. And I was sitting here and it was a winter's game and it suddenly started getting very dark and someone said to me, "Chris, it's getting very dark." And I said, "Well, it's winter." And more or less as I finished that, this wind came from this side diagonally across. And we had a scaffolding tower attached here for some damage that we'd had on Boxing Day or Christmas Eve, one of the two. The next thing I see is the pitch advertising boards started flapping. A few of them started flying across the pitch. The rain picked up. We had horizontal rain. Suddenly 4 scaffolding boards ended up on the pitch down there, and that was rattling. All the bins were starting to roll across everywhere. There used to be advertising on top of all the turnstiles. You'll notice there isn't anymore. We still haven't found some of those. And then the most frightening was, we started to do a partial evacuation then, but on the ends of the south stand, you'll see some advertising there talking about Harlequins and various things. Those are aluminium sheets. And they're about 6 foot long, and one started peeling off and it was flapping in the wind. And if that had come down, that could have sort of certainly damaged someone, if not sort of killed someone. And it's at that stage, everyone wanted a bit of me, and we're trying to control it from here. And then I have to advise the referee, but it's the referee that calls it off. I just advise. But it came a safety call. So we had a little interesting discussion, and the game got abandoned.
Well, where do you advise him from then? Because it would be very easy to stay in this beautiful office with the heating on when he's down there in the middle of Twister.
Well, at the time, a lot of things have modernised since then. So we've got more equipment, more radios. But on that day, I actually had to go down there, and we had this discussion with the two coaches. So we had Richard Cockrell and Conor O'Shea. And, is the game off? And all I could say was that it's not safe. And the ref said, "Is it safe to continue?" And I said, "Well, I can't say that scaffolding tower is safe anymore, having lost part of it." So he then abandoned it, but the results did.
Oh, amazing. Well, I hope we get to have this conversation again. I'm going to have to leave you to it now because we do actually have a game today. When we're finally allowed to have you guys back at the ground, have a look at this beautiful tower. It's in between the Charles Stanley stand and the South stand, overlooking Big Stoop, as Sykesy the groundsman calls it. But make sure you look up at the top of the tower and give Chris a wave. Thanks very much, mate. What a great chat.
Pleasure. Good to speak.